Thank you for joining us in another episode of Experience, Strength, and Hope. My name is Catherine, and our host Tony will be joining us shortly. Our goal is to bring stories that make you laugh, smile, and even cry, but most of all, give you hope. Please don't forget to support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel and following us on Spotify, Anchor FM, and Apple Podcasts. Today, Tony is joined by three men of various backgrounds. Listen as they tell their stories about finances, life's lessons, and raising African American men in today's society. Again, I'm Catherine, and I hope you enjoy today's show.
Thank you to all those who listened to part one of 4 Men and 4 Mics, which is available on various platforms. We thank you for tuning in again to part 2. I hope you enjoyed. Again, leave a message. Leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Let us know that you were here and you were listening. Thank you again, and you have a blessed day. I think a lot of our kids, they don't know. You know, I've been with kids sometimes. I asked who Malcolm X was, Martin Luther King. They tell you Martin Luther King freed the slaves. You're like, what? Mm-hmm. He helped the slaves get. But the people that did fight and help, in the 60s. I was born in the 60s, Jimmy. So I knew what it was when Martin Luther King had killed, and people burning up 63rd Street in Chicago and the West Side.
Girls in the church and all that.
Yeah, and so you remember when people protest and fought against this. Now everybody want to protest. Everybody got to protest about something now. Because they seen that sometimes they open their eyes and seeing that things work. But I just feel like it's just so hard for me sometimes. Even myself, living in, I don't want to live back in Chicago, but even living in Kansas as an African-American man or as older, but I know that I'm getting older, and what do I reflect? What do people see when I walk in Dillon's, when I walk in Walmart? When I was younger, you would think that they were always, because they were, people follow you around the store, making sure you're not stealing stuff, and you do that now. You're like, hey, wait, did you following me? But even now, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, is it me? This got to feel like, do I have to throw up my guards every time I walk into a store or approach people in the auto department, and they, they might be getting rude with you. Are they getting rude with you because of your color? Mm-hmm. Are they getting rude with you because they just rude? You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. It's just kind of hard sometimes,
Well, I always tell this story when I was in school, and I was in 7th grade, and we was in history class. I love history, so the teacher had proposed. Being from Ohio, Columbus is a big thing. Our state capital is Columbus, Ohio. So, so it's a big thing. And I told him, I said, how did Columbus discover America when what you told me was when they landed that the Native Americans lived there. And then he went on this tirade. So I said, if I took this dollar out of my pocket and dropped it on the ground, and you seen me drop the dollar and I walked out the room and you picked it up and it was yours, you pick it up and claim it as yours, how did you discover it? I got 3 days suspension for that. Yes, my mother had to come up to the school. It got reduced to 1. Back in the days, everything was 3. So my mother come up to the school and she was hot. And she didn't play that, so she said, you know what, my son ain't as dumb as I thought he was. He right. How did he discover America? So they knocked it down to 1. So when you talk about that, just having that, they talking about they want to get rid of. You want to get rid of history. You cannot get rid of history. The way we've been taught history in school is disrespectful. Because even where I come from, they teach it, the Black history and African American history. But it was, when I was younger, it was always, oh, you guys were slaves and Abraham Lincoln, signed and let you go. But I was actually taught by a lot of people who were from the civil rights movement. See, I was blessed as a youngster, and a lot of my principals were Black. A lot of my teachers, and they would give us the real deal about things, most of them. And they was like, this ain't all this stuff you were learning it's a lot more to it. You know, it's a lot more to it. So as I got older, I started to do a lot of history on things with history and those types of things, and just the atrocities that were done to black people, or because to be honest with you, we all are biracial in this room. Everybody, because when you're due to the dregs of slavery, when he had that master sleeping with our greats, I did an ancestry test and I got all this stuff in me. So yeah, I may look like a black man, but we are all diverse due to the dregs of slavery. All of us, no matter what your pigmentation is, because if your ancestors come from slaves, unless you came straight from Africa, you have those things in you. So they want to try to sugarcoat it. They can't sugarcoat it. You know, like Jimmy said, he was reading books. I read Uncle Tom's Cabin. One of the books, 2 books that I remember reading as a youngster was Malcolm X, autobiography of Malcolm X, and Uncle Tom's Cabin. And a teacher, lady I went to taught me when I was in middle school, she had me read it. I read that book, and I was like, this was what really went on during slavery. I'm just glad my family and my ancestors made it over from the ships to get over here, and I was able to survive. All of us should be, because of some people bloodline stop.
Yeah, we strong people.
We strong people.
We here.
We put up with so much in this world that we live in, the United States of America. We've done so much for the country. We serve our country. We're good citizens. We try to help others. And we still don't get that level of respect of being a first-class citizens like some other people. It's other people who can come from other countries and come here and do way well than what we do. I'm not saying that.
Well, look at the ones who was here first, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
The Native Americans, they was here first.
Yeah.
They were
With
here.
the first money.
Yeah, with the first money. Okay, I like that one.
We built it on our backs. Our ancestors built this on. They built this country on our backs. Like if you go to Fort Riley, you know, and you go to Main Post, and I'm sure everybody in this room been to Main. It has a history to it. To me, I feel it. You know, Fort Riley the Main Post was one of the first cities that were built in Kansas, like areas, and you just see all the people who have came through here, and the people that look like me and don't look like me, and especially the ones that look like me, then set it up so I can be in the military, set up so I can be a cavalryman. You know, it's those types of things. It's like we consistently fight for what we should already, not so much given, but it's just the normal things. We done went through so much where other people they could come here and do great things, you know, make money. Right. I had a man tell me one time, he said, you know, it was a guy, this was a while ago, he was talking about how many minorities on, you know, on state assistance. I said, well, statistics show minorities, we're less. We have less being on state assistance. But I also said, you know, what about them 200 years that my ancestors worked this land, worked this country for 200 years? Where's that money? So if any person of color that getting assistance, let them get it, because we haven't been repaid them reparations for that. That's just how I feel.
You sound just. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, because speaking of that, because I was going to speak on that too. You know, what Joseph was talking about as far as the state assistant is concerned. Because now this is on a college level. I was in a class up in, where were we at? I think we was in Salina or Manhattan. And the class was about poverty in the United States. And the teacher, when she was going through for as the welfare thing, you know, she said it like with enthusiasm. And the majority of the percentage of people that's on welfare are blacks, you know. She said it like that, and I was like, ho. I was like, you know, blacks are only 13% of the population. I said, so why are you using percentages instead of the actual numbers? I said, cause, you know, like, if it's 10% of blacks on welfare, well then that's only about 3 million. I say, but if you got 8% of white folks, and it's 100 and some million of them. They getting a lot more checks than we are, and she about to put me out of class. She got so upset and turned out red and stuff. She wanted to put me out of class and stuff. Because okay, why you using percentage? They use percentages when it's their benefits, and then they use the actual numbers, when it's not, and so the point is, the whole thing is that we talk about how much we've been through, and we still achieve. And that's why you see stuff like how you get a piano, what you doing with that car, how all of these stumbling blocks we put in your way, that you're still here, and then they get so mad about it, like they did in Oklahoma and in East St. Louis and in Rosewood, Florida. They go out and bomb your stuff and tear it all down because they can't achieve. They can't stand the thought that you have achieved more than they have with all the obstacles that's been placed in your way.
All right, who next? Well, that was you made me forget what I was going to say, but that's good. Go ahead, Christian.
Kind of to piggyback what Joseph was talking about earlier, I was kind of going through it in my head, and it really comes down to knowledge being power. And I've been a teacher, so I've been a school district teacher at both of the middle schools. And the one thing you can ask any student I ever had, I tell them to challenge everything. Okay. So even with me being the teacher, if you would question it, challenge it. Just because I'm in a position of leadership doesn't mean that I have all the answers. Right. It doesn't mean that I'm always right. And so the one thing I encouraged them the entire time was challenge everything and try to find proof. Do your research. And to me, my parents taught me education starts at home. So I don't trust the state or the government to teach my kids. And that's the way that I plan on raising them is, you're going to go to school, get your education, but round 2 begins when you get home. Because we're going to be talking about those things you don't learn in school. Right. How to survive, how to balance your checkbook, how to make money, how to work for yourself, how to live for yourself, how to be a man, or if I got a daughter, a woman. Like, you're going to learn these things outside of school because I don't trust anybody else to teach you. But I'm going to teach you to teach yourself as well. Do your education, do your research, learn your history for what it really is and not what they told you it was. But challenge everything and question everything that you learn. And then, go from there.
Tell me last time about a program that you were trying to come up with too, that you were working on. Yeah. A program not just for school, but like for...
I'm looking at doing a development center for kids. I want to hit every age bracket. So I want to do a development center for kids that are growing up. Parents can come learn how to work with their kids, how they develop, learn how to work with their kids while they're young. Also want to start up a couple of summer camps or even year-long camps where we're dealing with kids that are in their teens, middle school and high school. I would like to target the males, but if it pulls into something where we're working on both sides, then that's great too. But as much as I like working in geriatrics now and working with adults, if I can get that young generation now, that's where them changes are going to happen. The adults have already lived their lives. I'm going to work with you till, time's up. But to hit that,
you're doing it too. Yeah, might see you one day. Huh?
Well, and that's what my big thing is now. Because I'm still working with teens, but I'm also working in geriatrics. And that's either you're going to see me and deal with this stuff at 16 or 60. That's your 2 options. But the people that I'm working with at 60, 70, 80, still dealing with the things they dealt with at 16, 17, 18. And so they've never dealt with those traumas, never dealt with those issues. And now it's like, well, now I got to come see this guy to deal with them, hopefully now. So you're going to deal with it one way or another. So if I can impact you at a younger age, we got a better chance of changing how things are going.
All right, I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. Back August the 30th, I found out I had prostate cancer. Okay? And the way I found out, through my PSA. Last year or whatever like that, PSA is under 4. 3 points, something like that. They want to keep it under 4. A 4 raises a red flag, over 4. And so I had my appointment, but I forgot to do my lab. And so the doctor called me up and said, hey, you need to go do your labs when you get a chance. I said, oh, okay. I'm more worried about my cholesterol and everything like that, because you can look at the lab before they get it a lot of times, So I'm looking at it and I said, okay, I see PSA is in red. I ain't paying no attention to how the number, I didn't know. get online and start Googling. I was looking for the cholesterol, just like I said, and then they called me. So your PSA is high. And they called me and I did the biopsy and then, find out later I had prostate cancer and stuff. So, I mean, I learned late, probably like within the last 10 years, how important it is for us to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how it is to take care of yourself, and I mean, going to we got such a big thing about going to the doctor, but just think of the times, just think if I wouldn't have been going to the doctor regularly, if I keep putting it off, they say, oh, it's so, people make light of it when you have it, it's so easy, you can get rid of that real easy, or it's easy to text, but it's a lifelong thing. But I remember my mother took me to the doctor regularly.
Well, I think it's important, definitely. For me, I go to the doctor because my family, we don't live long. That's why y'all see me press much as I press about achieving things, because when my grandmother died at 40, 49, no, 50, we deal with a lot of health problems. So I knew I started to do more when I was probably about 25 is when I started to take more active care of my health, And just like you, I had my first prostate exam at 40. Of course I didn't want to do it. Your manhood on that person's finger, but at the same time, when you have, my grandfather had prostate cancer, so I went on and did it, and I do it every year now. I don't want to do it, but like you said, you have to do it. When you have a family, you can work with genetics and do your different things with it, but sometimes your genetics is going to catch up with you. So even I eat right, I drink a lot more water, I don't drink soda and all that stuff anymore, and I try to keep, y'all see me lose weight, then I gain, I try to keep my weight down, because I know those things affects my health. And especially for us Black Americans, we really need to look at our health, because we're the ones, a lot of us with the heart disease, the diabetes, the kidney disease, prostate cancer, what's the other one? Colon cancer is huge, and so of course I didn't want to do those, but I needed to be different. When my father, my dad, the man I call my dad, which he raised me, he died at 47. So my dad died of heart disease at 47 years old. I'm headed that way now, his age now. And that scares me. It scares me. My dad was a bigger guy, but he was active. He he did all those things, but he was overweight. And that weight caught, even before he died, he lost like 100 pounds trying to, but it's far too gone when you have that congestive heart failure. So even my mom, she deals with some things. So I try to be more conscious about my health. Yeah, I like to eat. I like to eat, barbecue, things like that. But those things we have to keep up on. Like you said, when we go to the doctor, that's the first thing we look for. What's our blood pressure? What's our cholesterol? What is this? But you wasn't looking at what was the prostate. So we have to keep up on that. If we want to live long, you got to go to the doctor. I remember we didn't go to the doctor much when I was young because it was just too much money, But once I would get insurance and those things as I got older, and my mom was keeping in my ear, hey, you need to go to the doctor because this is what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with high blood pressure. Most people in our family, 98.9 got it. The other percent don't know they got it yet. You need to go to your doctor. So, I have been on high blood pressure since I was young, probably 25. 25, so that's how long I've been on it. But the thing is, I have to do that. And I try to do things, it ain't just the pills, but people got to understand the pills are there to help. You got to do lifestyle changes. And every now and then, don't nobody say you can't have what you want, but you can't eat that every day. A lot of it is what we put in our bodies. And a lot of us not getting out doing, exercising and stuff. And the biggest thing, what you talk about is the stress. Yeah. We got to alleviate stress, because if you got a stressful body, that cortisol, there's nothing you can do. Once the cortisol starts to invade the body, it just breaks it down. And we all work stressful jobs. Then we deal with the social things of the job, which causes a lot of anxiety. So it's just like your car. If you got a Maserati, you got to make sure that, I don't care if that Maserati 40 years old, you got to make sure it's in top-notch condition. It's people out here would take care of their car more than they would take care of their body.
Yeah, and somehow I ended up with 3 health insurances. I got my military tracker, I got VA, and I got my Medicare insurance. So, and I go to the doctor about every 3 months. I make sure I'm using one of them, or if I'm not, they calling me, especially VA. They're good at calling me, telling, hey, you need to come and get a checkup and stuff. But I'm my family. They sort of died young too. It was 12 of us. Now it's only 3 of us left. And like Joseph was saying, I'm the oldest between the children that were born of my mother and father. I'm the oldest one with all the nieces and nephews and all of that. I'm the oldest one in the family, so everybody sort of looked to me. And I kind of like that. I take that on, and that's why I try to make sure that I take good care of myself and get checked out. Now I was diagnosed with prostate cancer when I was 50 years old. That was 15 years ago. And it just so happened, I know God was working in it because my supervisor, it was a time on that job where we had to go and get physicals and stuff. I don't even know if they still do that anymore. But she kept saying, you got to go get a physical. You got to go get a physical. And so I didn't want to go through, how the physical thing goes. I didn't want to go through all of that. So I had went to Fort Riley, and I was trying to get a copy of my last physical. And they kept looking for it and kept trying to print it off and all of that, but they never could do it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to go ahead and get this thing done. So, and then when I had it done, and when the doctor called me, it was a female doctor, and she was like, well, I was talking to the other doctors, and they kept saying that black people, they have high prostate levels, so it ain't nothing to worry about. But I kept saying, no, we need to go get this checked out. And so I just thank God for her, because instead of her brushing it off, she had it checked out. And then when I did get checked, I did have 20% of my prostate that was cancer. And so I went through the surgery and stuff, and 12 years later, it started coming back, because I was checking the numbers like I was supposed to. If it just ticked up 100% or something, I was like, I'm supposed to be at 0, And so then I ended up having to do radiation to get that done, So if I get another 12 years out of that, I'll be good. But it's very important. I mean, I'm active. I was always active. I used to run 10 miles just for fun, just for kicks, and I still walk a lot, to get exercise. And I get checked out at least about once every 3 months. I go get myself checked, to try to stay in good shape and good health for my children and my grandchildren.
All right, you the young one.
Yeah. So again, I'm in that weird spot where I know, but I don't know. And so my parents have been big on me too. My family, everybody's got some kind of illness, and pretty much if you can diagnose it, somebody got 1 or 2 of them, if not 3 or 4. And I lost my grandparents both in their 2 of them in their early 50s too. And so my parents' health isn't all that great either. It's just one of the things you got to learn to take care of yourself. And so that's where I've been at for the last few years, trying to figure things out. Like my last job when I applied for it, I almost didn't get it just because of my blood pressure. They're like, you're almost unhireable because you look like you're about to die with these numbers. And so that's where it's like you really got to start checking these things. I don't think nothing of it. I go to work, went to school, and that was my main focus. But I also worked a job where I'm in the car for 6-7 hours at a time, driving around, not eating in moderation, not bringing my lunch because, it's more convenient to stop off and grab $2.
Yeah, right.
But they add up quick. And so it's like, once I started really thinking about it and digging into them, I really got to get these changes, because when I talk to people that are older than me, they're like, that's one of the big things. I wish I would have taken care of myself better. Now they got new hips, new knees, new ankles, new everything. Like everything got to get replaced because they didn't take care of themselves, or they got loved ones that passed away 20 years earlier than they probably should have, because nobody's taking care of themselves. They're not watching what they're eating. They're not exercising. They're not going and getting checked out. And so to me, that's a major flag where it's like, I really got to take care of this now, because if I don't, I might not be around for my kids,
Right.
you know, for a long time. And so I don't want to die when they're 5, 6, 7,
Right.
8, when it could have been prevented.
Yeah.
But not even just going to the doctor, but going to the dentist.
Right.
That's a big thing. Like, you
Right.
got to do all around
Right.
care.
Right.
This is heart disease.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The body is a crazy thing, but it all works together. And I guess, again, I got to practice what I preach, but even with my patients now, they're in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, but I tell them, get yourself checked out, reduce your stress, go to the dentist, go to the doctor. You've got to do this overall care. And I'm trying to learn or do what I teach them to do too. And get into that habit of do it now, so that way my heart's not so stressed out that, I'll make changes 20, 30 years from now, but the damage was done a long time ago, and now I'm just a ticking time bomb.
That was, my biggest thing now.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
That's right. my biggest thing now is that, and as you talk about the prevention, is that I was in the gym hard before the pandemic hit. Then I would start go every now and then walk, the neighborhood, things like that. When they tell you had cancer, you want to hit the gym every day. He said you could be in 4.5 hours, that new robotic surgery. Yeah, that robotic surgery. He said, so make sure, he said it's good to if you can exercise right now, do some things, because I don't know if they do it like that now, but with me, when I found out when they told me I had prostate cancer, everything was rush. Go get this done. Go find out about this. Go do this tape. Do a CT scan. Do a body scan. Do an MRI, and then everything just comes to a halt. It's just okay.
That was the hardest part
y'all ain't
for me.
been calling me.
That was the hardest part.
Well, we gotta wait. We're gonna do this test. We're gonna wait for the results, and then we're gonna schedule for surgery in 2 months. Say 2 months, man. Because I don't know what yours was. They told my Gleason score was an 8. It was from the 2. They go from 2 to 10. So I was in the higher, and then they tell you too. Well, it's not really like a stage either. Prostate cancer, we don't give you a stage until after we do the surgery or until after we do. I'm like, man, we want to know when there's something going on with you.
Right.
You want to know now. So that's what's important. Another thing I never thought about too is when every time you go to the doctor, they ask you about your family history. No matter what you're going for, even a dentist,
Right.
they ask you about your family history. Now it make me think, who had, you have relatives that died at 50 of different things.
And didn't have insurance. They had prostate cancer.
One last word, or just closing. What kind of advice, or what kind of just life advice that you can give us as we move from 2021 and we going to 2022 already? Anything that you have, plans that you have for the future? My plans, I can go first. My plans are just to take care of myself, use these travel vouchers that I have. If I do want to fly or do want to not push yourself too far and then say, okay, it's time for me to quit. We push ourselves so far, and then we get to the age where we can't retire. You don't retire, so you keep on going, and then you gotta retire, and you can't enjoy nothing that you work for.
You can't enjoy it.
Yeah. So
you got a pocket full of money, and
you get loved ones just wait.
And all you can have is some toast and a glass of warm milk,
Okay.
And a blanket.
Yeah, and a blanket over you watching TV, but you got a big wad of money in your pocket and stuff. But the advice I would give people for real is, again, I grew up in the 1960s with Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and all of them. Those people, they were beaten, they died so we can have the right to vote. And now we're at that point again. That's what I see. When I was growing up in the 1960s, now I see this in the 2020s. We need to pay attention to what's going on in politics. Are we gonna find, if you look at history, right after the Civil War, right after slavery was ended, they went about 10 or 12 years. And then they got set back because they took the troops out of the South and all of that stuff. And then they started chipping away at the freedoms that they had accomplished. And then after that, you had Plessy versus Ferguson about the train and the separate but equal. And that lasted 54 years, all the way up to the point of Brown versus the Board of Education. And then we had the Civil Rights Act, which was in 1965. Well, here we are again about 50 years later, and they trying to set us all the way back there again. So we have to be aware of what's going on. And once they do it, it's over. You can't just sit back. You got to be aware of what's going on. And right now, you even got to be aware of who's on the school board and all of that stuff. Because they're gradually chipping away at all of our rights and all of our freedoms. And even with this Supreme Court we got, they talking crazy, and a lot of things that they're doing, they're messing with the 14th Amendment, and that's what gave us all of our freedoms. So we need to be aware.
For me, I definitely agree. You gotta take care of yourself first. If you got your health, then I think everything else will fall into place. I think the biggest thing for me moving into the next year, make the most of what you got and take advantage of everything that's given, every opportunity that you have. For me, I think I've accomplished a lot, but I've also lived a lot in fear, and I think I could have been further ahead had I not been so afraid of failing and taking more advantage of what I got. Right. And like I tell the kids now, like you got access to Wi-Fi just about anywhere you go, probably a ridiculous amount of information. But if you use it properly and use it to your advantage, there's not much anything you can't accomplish. And so if you want to pursue it, this is a time now where our ancestors have built up for us to accomplish what we want to accomplish, not just survive. And so use that, learn your history, continue to get knowledge, and then continue to push forward and do whatever it is you really feel like you should be doing.
Right. Thank you.
I kind of agree with Christian. It's just moving forward. Like personally for me, it's finding peace. Because I'm always pushing ahead, and I don't slow down. But now I'm seeing things that my body is not letting me push like it used to. Working 2 jobs and going to school, that was hard. I did that for a long time. And if I can give anybody some advice, if you want to pursue something, pursue it. Don't stress yourself out. I truly believe we in COVID, but one of the things I can take out of COVID, people can do other things to make themselves self-sufficient. And I'm just gonna just put it out here. We all, not Jimmy anymore, but all 3 of us depend on the system to live. Jimmy already put his time in. This generation and the people with this COVID, this is the time to start your business. Like you doing this podcast, it's time to start something different. Not to be dependent on the man so much anymore. I want to go into business myself, so when I hear Christian, like, he want to go into business, but me, I'm still dependent on the man a little bit because I like to have that type of income coming in, even though you're never truly in our profession get paid what you're truly worth. But if you go outside of that, you can live really comfortable. And I always tell the young people to get it where they can. Even my own son, get it now. Don't wait till, like your dad, I didn't go back to school till I was 31, and I didn't finish my master's till I was 30, 38. I'm locked in now. I don't want to go. I'm done with it. I don't want to, if I finish this EDD or PhD, but that's it. I'm not going out of the profession. But when you can do it when you're young, you got different avenues. And even I could do it, but that's where, like you said, being scared. I'm so used to getting that check every month or every 2 weeks, working my shift. But really, at the end of the day, you got to realize, like you said, you're 65 years old. Mr. Timms was talking, you getting up in age, and Jimmy said as well, you can't enjoy it. You got people retiring. I know somebody right now getting ready to retire at 63 because they can't do the job anymore. I don't want to work that long. I want to work because I I want to, not
right.
because I have to.
Right. That's it.
And that's the thing that I encourage people to do. If you got a hustle that you can turn into, or something that you can turn into something where you can make some legitimate income and not depend on the system as much, do that. That's what I would tell people. Do that, and don't overwork yourself, because all of us, if you went to school, you joined the military or whatever, it's a cost to that. When you go to school, when I went to school, I paid a price. I had to pay the boatman on that one. And that boatman was personal. I had to pay, like, well, I'm gonna go to school for the next 7 years, but my son is this age, and I gotta hurry up and try to graduate before he graduate, because I don't want to, like, that senior year, me and him graduating at the same time. So you gotta pay a price. That's what the difference between the people, in my opinion, that do and don't, that talk. You want to go do something with yourself, whatever that is, you got to pay the price. You got to pay the toll. And if you're not willing to put the toll up to be more successful, then you'll still be talking like the people I said before, 70 years old, 80 years old. So, well, I should have did this, I had this. No, you got to pay the price. It's a price to everything. And success. People look at me all the time and say, Joseph, you successful, you're different. No, I'm not. I'm no different than nobody else. The difference is that I paid a price, and I had a determination and an honor in this about me. Because when somebody tell me I can't, I do. So if I have to tell anybody, if anybody tell you can't, even my own son, if I tell my son when he was little, if your daddy ever say you can't do something and it's positive, you do it. You just got to pay the price. What are you willing to sacrifice to achieve something? So that's what I would like to just leave with that. Pay your price, be determined, and don't let nobody say you can't, whatever that is.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Experience, Strength, and Hope. Come back and continue to listen on any of our other platforms such as YouTube, Spotify, Anchor.fm, and Apple Podcasts. We encourage you to not only listen, but also reach out and share your stories of experience, strength, and hope at bigdog0862@gmail.com or 785-307-4662. I'm Anthony Timms, and this has been another podcast of Experience, Strength, and Hope from Tony DeMayer Timms. Be blessed, be strong, and most of all, be real.